2 minutes left changes how the truth sounds. Suddenly the noise drops, the jokes die, the excuses lose their grip. When time shrinks, honesty gets loud. You stop pretending you're confused and start remembering what you avoided. Every distraction you hid behind steps aside, and what's left is the version of you that knew better but waited. Any urgency doesn't knock, it kicks the door in. It doesn't ask how you feel about it or whether you're ready. It collapses the stage lights, rips down the backdrop, and shows you the wires, the cracks, the cheap paint you thought was marble. Illusion survives on time. Give people enough time and they'll decorate their lies, rehearse their excuses, polish their masks until they believe them. Take the time away and everything artificial starts shaking. When the clock tightens, stories fall apart. The ones you told others, the ones you told yourself. All the someday language turns into noise because urgency doesn't understand promises, it understands action. It exposes how much of your life was performance and how little of it was commitment. The plans that mattered rise to the surface. The distractions you swore were important suddenly look ridiculous. Urgency is ruthless like that. It doesn't argue. It reveals illusion needs comfort to survive. It needs space, routine, predictability. Urgency removes all three. When there's pressure, you stop pretending you're confused. Confusion is a luxury. Under urgency, you remember exactly what you avoided. You remember the decisions you postponed, the conversations you dodged, the risks you explained away with logic that sounded smart at the time. The truth doesn't become clearer because you're wiser. It becomes clearer because there's no room left to lie. People love to believe they're complex, misunderstood, still figuring things out. Urgency laughs at that. It simplifies everything. It turns life into a short list of what you did and what you didn't, what you chose and what you hid from. When urgency shows up, your identity stops being what you claim and starts being what you practiced. That's why it feels violent. Not because it hurts you, but because it takes away your ability to negotiate with reality. Illusions also depend on an audience. They need validation, agreement, silence. Urgency isolates you. It puts you alone with your choices. No applause, no explanations, no social buffering. Just you and the consequences of how you spend your time. In that space, excuses sound hollow. Blame loses its flavor. You can't distract yourself with opinions or comparisons because urgency doesn't care who else is watching. It cares what you're doing right now. Under urgency, priorities don't get discussed. They get exposed. You see what you protected and what you sacrificed. You see where your energy actually went, not where you said it went. People are shocked by this moment because they assumed their intentions counted. Urgency doesn't count intentions. It counts movement. It counts consistency. It counts follow-through. Everything else is background noise. Illusion also thrives on the belief that there will always be more time to fix things. Urgency destroys that belief instantly. It doesn't threaten you with the future. It corners you in the present, and in that corner, you find out whether you've been building something solid or stacking excuses. You find out if your confidence was earned or borrowed. You find out if your morals were situational or lived. This is why urgency terrifies people more than failure. Failure can be explained. Failure can be blamed on circumstances. Urgency offers no such comfort. It doesn't tell you what will happen, it shows you who you are. It removes the padding between you and the truth. No filters, no edits. Just raw exposure. Illusions make life feel manageable. Urgency makes life feel real. Under pressure, you stop caring about looking good and start caring about what matters. You stop protecting appearances and start protecting outcomes. That shift is irreversible. Once you've seen yourself without illusion, you can't unsee it. You can pretend again, but it never works the same. The cracks stay visible. Urgency doesn't create character, it reveals it. It doesn't make you brave or cowardly, it shows which one you practiced. It doesn't make you honest or deceptive, it shows which one was convenient. And that's the part people hate the most. Not the pressure, not the fear, but the clarity. Because clarity removes excuses permanently. When time compresses, truth expands. The room gets smaller, the noise fades, and all that's left is the weight of your choices standing right in front of you. No metaphors, no motivation posters, no comforting lies, just the undeniable outline of who you became when you thought no one was counting, when you thought you had plenty of time, when you believed the illusion would hold a little longer. Limited time doesn't persuade you to be honest, it traps you into it. It corners you where pretending becomes inefficient. Lies need space. They need long explanations, backup stories, emotional cushioning. Honesty is fast, it's sharp, it fits inside seconds. When time runs out, honesty is the only thing that can still move without tripping over itself. When you think you have plenty of time, you negotiate with truth, you delay it, soften it, redesign it so it doesn't hurt your image. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. When things calm down, when you're stronger, when circumstances change, limited time burns those delays to the ground. Suddenly there's no later to hide behind. The truth stops asking and starts staring. People don't lie because they're evil. They lie because honesty feels expensive. It costs comfort, approval, control. Time makes that cost feel manageable. Limited time flips the equation. Now dishonesty becomes expensive. It takes too much effort to maintain, too much energy to perform, too much thinking to keep track of contradictions. Under pressure, the brain stops decorating reality and starts reporting it. That's why panic and honesty often arrive together, not because fear makes you brave, but because fear removes the luxury of pretense. You stop explaining and start admitting. You stop defending and start acknowledging. You don't have time to protect your ego, so you protect what actually matters. Limited time forces alignment between thought, feeling, and action because there's no bandwidth left for fragmentation. When time is abundant, people speak in theories. When time is scarce, they speak in facts. The language changes. Less I think, more I did. Less maybe, more this is. Limited time strips the fluff out of communication. It removes the poetic excuses and leaves behind blunt reality. That bluntness feels cruel to people who survived on ambiguity. Honesty under limited time is uncomfortable because it exposes priorities. You see what you're willing to say when there's no reward attached. You see who you reach for first, what you protect instinctively, what you're willing to let go without a fight. That information is usually buried under routines and distractions. Limited time drags it into the open. People also discover how dishonest they've been with themselves. That's the hardest part. You can lie to others for years, but under pressure, self-deception collapses instantly. You remember what you knew all along. You remember the red flags you renamed hope, the habits you called coping, the stagnation you labeled patience. Limited time doesn't introduce new truths. It removes the cover from old ones. There's a reason people fear deadlines more than consequences. Deadlines don't hurt you, they expose you. They reveal whether your words were placeholders or promises, whether your intentions had weight or were just emotional decoration. When time runs out, you don't get to argue about who you meant to be, only who you practiced being. Limited time also destroys fake confidence. Confidence built on reassurance collapses under pressure. Confidence built on reality sharpens. You stop posturing. You stop seeking approval. You don't have time to look impressive. You need to be accurate. Honest confidence is quieter, more focused, less theatrical. It's not trying to win. It's trying to survive with integrity intact. People romanticize honesty like it's a moral achievement. Under limited time, it's more like a reflex. You don't choose it, it chooses you. There's no energy left to maintain lies, so truth spills out. Not dramatically, not heroically, but efficiently. Clean sentences, clear admissions, direct decision, the kind of honesty that doesn't sound brave, just necessary. That's why limited time changes relationships instantly. Masks slip, roles dissolve, performances end. Some connections strengthen because they were already built on truth. Others collapse because they were propped up by convenience and avoidance. Limited time doesn't ruin relationships. It audits them. Honesty under pressure isn't gentle. It doesn't reassure. It doesn't soften itself to protect feelings. It prioritizes clarity over comfort. People resent it because they confuse comfort with safety. Limited time proves that clarity is safer than illusion, even if it hurts more in the moment. When the clock tightens, you don't rise to your ideals, you fall to your habits. And those habits speak honestly for you. They show where your loyalty really is, what you value without negotiation, what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're not. Limited time doesn't ask you to explain yourself. It listens to what you do when explanations no longer fit, that's why. Honesty under limited time feels brutal and freeing at the same time. Brutal, because it removes every lie you were leaning on. Freeing, because once truth is out, there's nothing left to manage, nothing left to maintain, nothing left to pretend. Just reality, raw and exposed, moving faster than fear, can keep up distraction. Don't die quietly, they implode. Under pressure, they don't politely step aside. They get exposed as what they always were, tools to delay responsibility. When time stretches, distractions feel harmless, even helpful. They give you something to touch while avoiding what needs to be faced. But squeeze the clock, compress the moment, and those same distractions start choking you. They demand attention you no longer have. They beg for energy you can't afford to give. Pressure has a way of turning background noise into dead weight. Every unnecessary habit, every pointless argument, every routine you maintained out of comfort suddenly feels heavy. You don't have the luxury of scattering your focus anymore. When pressure arrives, it doesn't ask what you enjoy, it asks what matters. And distractions don't survive that interrogation. People think distraction. Our external phones noise other people, but the real ones live inside. Overthinking, replaying conversation, imagining outcomes that don't exist yet. Under pressure, those internal distractions collapse first. There's no time to spiral, no space to fantasize. The mind shifts from wandering to targeting. It becomes brutally efficient. Anything that doesn't serve survival, clarity, or action gets discarded without apology. Distractions rely on abundance. Abundant time, abundant energy, abundant excuses. Pressure removes abundance. It introduces scarcity, and scarcity sharpens focus like a blade. Suddenly you notice how much of your life was spent maintaining distractions instead of direction. How many hours were sacrificed to staying comfortable instead of becoming precise. Under pressure, you don't multitask, you prioritize. The collapse is violent because distractions pretend to be necessary. They disguise themselves as obligations, entertainment, connection, self-care. Pressure strips the costume off. You realize how many things you were doing just to avoid stillness, how often you filled silence so you wouldn't have to. Listen, pressure doesn't allow that escape. It forces you into the moment whether you like it or not. When distractions collapse, clarity rushes in, and clarity is unsettling. You see the problem without filters. You see the decision without delay. You see the consequence without cushioning. That clarity feels harsh because it removes the buffer between you and responsibility. You can't hide behind busyness anymore. You can't pretend you didn't notice. The collapse of distraction leaves you exposed. Pressure also reveals how addicted people are to being distracted. When distractions fail, panic sets in. Hands reach for familiar escapes that no longer work. Scrolling feels empty. Talking feels unnecessary. Noise feels irritating. That discomfort is the withdrawal phase. It's the mind realizing it has to operate without anesthesia. And in that raw state, reality comes into focus. Distractions collapse because they were never built to withstand urgency. They're designed for delay, not decision. Under pressure, the brain demands alignment. Every action has to connect to an outcome. Every thought has to justify its presence. Distractions can't do that. They evaporate when questioned directly. Why are you here? What are you protecting? What are you costing? People who panic under pressure aren't weak, they're distracted. They trained themselves to cope through avoidance instead of engagement. When pressure removes the escape routes, they feel naked. People who stay steady under pressure aren't fearless, they're practiced. They learned to live without distractions long before urgency arrived. They already knew how to sit with discomfort, how to focus without stimulation, how to act without noise. The collapse of distractions also exposes false urgency. The things you thought were emergencies suddenly feel irrelevant. The arguments that consumed your energy look small. The opinions that controlled your mood lose their grip. Pressure reorganizes your internal hierarchy. It shows you what actually moves the needle and what was just keeping you occupied. When distractions fall away, time feels different. Seconds feel heavier. Choices feel sharper. You stop drifting between options and start committing. That commitment scares people because it removes deniability. You can no longer say you were unsure. You were clear. You just had to act. Pressure doesn't eliminate distractions to punish you. It eliminates them to prepare you. It clears the field so only essential movement remains. In that stripped-down state, you're closer to yourself than you've been in years. No noise, no clutter. No performance, just intention meeting reality. Distractions collapsing under pressure isn't a loss, it's a revelation. It shows you how much focus you actually have when nothing is allowed to waste it. It proves that clarity was always available, just buried under comfort. And once you've experienced that level of focus, distractions never feel harmless again. They feel expensive, heavy, unnecessary, like noise trying to drown out a truth that already learned how to survive without the final moments. Don't invent priorities, they uncover them. They peel back the layers of planning, pretending, and postponing and leave only instinct standing. When time stops being generous, the mind stops negotiating. There's no debate, no weighing options, no rehearsing explanation. What you reach for first is what mattered all along, not what you claimed mattered when there was time to decorate. The story people think priorities are chosen calmly, thoughtfully, with lists and goals and speeches. That's a lie people tell themselves when there's room to rearrange the furniture. Real priorities live deeper than intention. They live in reflex. In crisis, in pressure, in final moments, you don't consult values, you expose them. You move toward what you protected consistently, what you fed with attention, what you practiced caring about when nobody forced you to decide. That's why final moments feel cruel. They don't respect your self-image. They don't care how reasonable your excuses sounded last year. They don't ask who you meant to become. They look at what you repeated, what you avoided, what you kept close when everything else could wait. The truth comes out without permission. And it's efficient, almost cold when the clock tightens. Distractions lose their charm. The things you swore were important suddenly feel hollow. Notifications, opinions, status, all of it fades when there's no future left to impress. What remains are people, unfinished business, unresolved courage. and the quiet awareness of where your energy actually went. Final moments don't ask what you believed in, they ask what you invested in. People are shocked by their own reactions in those moments, not because they're different than expected, but because they were honest. You see who you try to call, who you think about, what you regret not saying, what you regret saying too often. You notice which fears suddenly seem small and which ones were running your life without being invited. Final moments are audits, not speeches. Priorities revealed under pressure don't care about morality narratives. They don't line up neatly with what sounds good in conversation. They show attachment, avoidance, loyalty, fear, love, and ego in raw form. That rawness is unsettling because it doesn't flatter you. It doesn't insult you either. It just presents the evidence people spend years claiming they value: growth, truth, connection, purpose. Final moments test those claims without mercy. If growth mattered, you moved toward challenge instead of comfort. If truth mattered, you didn't keep swallowing silence to stay liked. If connection mattered, you showed up consistently instead of occasionally. If purpose mattered, you acted before urgency forced your hand. Final moments don't judge. They display there's a particular panic that hits when people realize their priorities don't match their narrative. That panic isn't about death or loss, it's about recognition, seeing yourself clearly without time to adjust the lighting. That's why people fear final moments even when they're safe. They fear being seen by themselves without filters. Final moments also reveal what you trusted. Did you trust time to fix things for you? Did you trust avoidance to keep consequences away? Did you trust that tomorrow would always be available? Or did you trust your own ability to act, decide, and confront? That trust, or lack of it, becomes obvious when tomorrow disappears. What people call regret is usually misplaced priority. Not doing the thing they knew mattered, not because they couldn't, but because something else felt easier in the moment. Final moments bring those trade-offs into focus. You see the pattern, not the single mistake. The repeated choice to delay courage, to postpone honesty, to substitute comfort for meaning. There's no room for performance in those moments. You don't care how you sound, how you look, how it will be interpreted. You care about alignment, about whether your life actually reflected what you felt in your chest when nothing else was demanding your attention. That clarity is heavy because it's undeniable. Final moments reveal whether your life was reactive or deliberate, whether you were pulled by noise or guided by intention, whether you lived according to what mattered or what was convenient. And once that revelation happens, it doesn't scream or accuse. It just sits there, solid and silent, holding up a mirror that doesn't blink, showing you exactly where your priority lived when there was no time left to pretend. Ownership doesn't arrive gently, it replaces excuses by force. Excuses are fragile structures built to protect comfort, image, and ego. They sound reasonable when time is generous and consequences feel distant. Ownership shows up when those protections collapse. It doesn't argue with your explanations or negotiate with your intentions. It looks at outcomes and asks one question you can't dodge: what did you do with what you were given? Excuses are attractive because they feel intelligent. They dress avoidance in logic. They let you sound thoughtful while staying still. Ownership strips that costume off. It doesn't care how smart the excuse sounds or how convincing the story is. It reduces everything to action and result. That reduction feels brutal because it removes complexity. People hide behind to avoid accountability. People cling to excuses because excuses keep identity intact. If something failed, it wasn't you. It was timing, circumstances, other people, bad luck. Ownership threatens that identity. It says maybe the pattern is you. Maybe the common denominator isn't external. That realization hits like a punch because it removes the comfort of victimhood and replaces it with responsibility. Ownership isn't about blame, but people confuse the two because they're allergic to responsibility. Blame looks backward and looks for targets. Ownership looks forward and looks for leverage. When you own something, you gain control over it. When you excuse it, you surrender control and call it acceptance. Ownership replaces excuses because excuses are powerless, and ownership is dangerous. In the best way, excuses multiply when pressure is low. There's always another reason, another delay, another justification. Ownership compresses everything. It forces clarity. You either acted or you didn't. You either prepared or you hoped. You either spoke or you stayed silent. That clarity is terrifying because it leaves no room for reinterpretation. People often say they're being realistic when they're actually being avoidant. They say things like, this is just how it is, this is how I am, this is how the world works. Those statements sound mature, but they're often excuses wearing grown-up clothes. Ownership challenges that by asking whether you tested that belief or hid behind it, whether you tried to change the pattern or accepted it because change felt expensive. Ownership replaces excuses when pain becomes honest, when consequences can no longer be explained away, when repetition becomes obvious. At some point, the same outcome keeps showing up, no matter how many different stories you tell. That's the moment ownership steps in and shuts the stories down. It doesn't shame you. It doesn't comfort you either. It hands you the pattern and waits. There's a strange relief in ownership that people don't talk about. Excuses are exhausting. You have to maintain them, defend them, adjust them when reality pokes holes in them. Ownership is heavy, but it's clean. Once you accept that something is yours, the mental noise drops. You stop rehearsing explanations and start looking for solutions. That shift feels like breathing after being underwater too long. Ownership also changes how you see time. Excuses push responsibility into the future. Ownership pulls it into the present. Instead of saying someday, you say now. Instead of waiting for permission, you act with what's available. That immediacy is uncomfortable because it removes the buffer between desire and effort. You no longer get to want things without working for them. People fear ownership because it exposes potential. If something is yours, then improvement is possible. That means stagnation becomes a choice instead of a fate. Excuses protect you from that realization. They let you believe nothing could have been done. Ownership says something could have been done, maybe not perfectly, but deliberately. That awareness burns because it highlights missed chances and unused strength. Ownership doesn't mean you control everything. It means you control your response, your preparation, your consistency, your boundaries, your honesty. Excuses pretend you control nothing. They shrink your influence and call it humility. Ownership expands your influence and demands courage to match it. When ownership replaces excuses, language changes. You stop saying, they made me, and start saying, I allowed it. You stop saying, I didn't have time, and start saying, I didn't prioritize it. You stop saying, I was unlucky, and start saying, I was unprepared. Those shifts feel harsh because they remove comfort, but they also return agency. People who live on excuses are reactive. People who live in ownership are deliberate. That difference shows under pressure. When something goes wrong, excuse-driven people scramble for explanations. Ownership-driven people look for adjustments. One is focused on image, the other on outcome. Ownership also ends the need for sympathy. Excuses crave validation. They want someone to agree that you were right to stay the same. Ownership doesn't need agreement. It needs movement. It's quieter, heavier, more focused. It doesn't announce itself because it doesn't need witnesses. The moment ownership takes over, excuses lose their voice. They don't disappear because they're disproven. They disappear because they're irrelevant. Once you accept responsibility, explanations stop mattering. What matters is what you're going to do next, with clear eyes and steady hands, without the safety net of stories, without the comfort of blame, without the illusion that someone else is coming to fix what you've already realized belongs to you. Oh, look at you. You've been through the ringer, huh? You've seen things, experienced things that would make anyone crumble. The endless struggles, the battles that seem to never end. You wake up some days and it feels like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, pressing down, pushing you further and further into the dirt. Every corner you turn, there's a new trial, a new challenge, something else to deal with. You've been tested, you've been shaken, you've been stretched to the breaking point, and yet, here you are, still standing. How's that for a twist? Perseverance. The funny thing about perseverance, isn't it? People talk about it like it's some kind of magic trick, like if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, everything's going to be fine. But here's the thing. It's not about making it through because everything magically falls into place. No, it's about sticking around while the world spins out of control. It's about enduring the noise, the chaos, the relentless pressure that pushes you into corners, and still, somehow, not giving up. You think it's going to be smooth, easy, simple. Let me tell you something. Life's got a twisted sense of humor, doesn't it? You ever feel like you're standing there doing everything right, playing the game, following the rules, and it still feels like the world's laughing in your face? You get knocked down, picked apart, pushed to the edge, and you keep getting up. It's like life's telling you to crawl, begging you to quit, but you don't. Oh no, you don't. You're still standing. You see, that's the thing about perseverance. It's never about the easy path. It's never about the easy path. It's about what you do when you're standing in the middle of the storm, trying to breathe, trying to figure out how to hold on just a little longer. It's not about whether or not you win, because you might never win. No, it's about what you become in the process. It's about refusing to let the world grind you down, refusing to let them see you break. So, you keep going, you keep fighting, and let's be real for a second. No one tells you how many times you're going to fall. No one tells you that it'll get harder. The tests, the trials, they just keep coming. You deal with one, and another one's already waiting for you. People will tell you it's for your own good, that it'll all work out eventually. They'll say, hey, hang in there. They'll say, this too shall pass. But deep down, you know what they don't get. They don't understand the struggle. They haven't felt the weight. They haven't been in the trenches like you have. And you're standing there feeling like you're losing, but you're not. You're fighting, you're enduring, and that's what makes you strong. No matter how many times you fall, you get back up again. You're tired, sure, but you're not broken. Every step you take, every time you push through that wall of doubt, you're proving to the world that you're not going anywhere. It's easy to give up. Hell, it's tempting. But you don't. You keep going, even when it feels like no one's watching, even when it feels like the whole world's forgotten about you. You see, people love to romanticize perseverance. They love the idea of it, but they don't really know what it means. Perseverance isn't pretty. It's messy. It's blood, sweat, and tears. It's standing in the face of defeat and refusing to let it have the last word. It's about showing up every single day, even when the world tells you that you shouldn't, even when everything around you is falling apart. And when you've been tested enough, When you've been through enough hell, you realize something. The struggle becomes second nature. The fight becomes who you are. You start to understand that there's no such thing as a perfect victory. There's only what you've earned through blood and pain. Perseverance isn't about some end goal. It's about surviving the next round, the next battle, no matter how long it takes. And let's be honest, when you've been through the kind of pain that only the truly broken can understand, you start to realize something strange. You're becoming something else. You're becoming stronger. You're becoming someone who's impossible to defeat because they've already gone to the edge and stared down the abyss. They've seen the worst and they're still here. And in that, there's a power that no one can take away. So keep going, keep showing up, because that's how you win, not by avoiding the struggle, not by skipping the pain, but by embracing it, by fighting through it, by refusing to let it break you. And when you look back, you'll see that what seemed like a never-ending battle was really the thing that made you untouchable. You think life's gonna hand you anything easy? Think again, it won't. But that's what makes the fight worth it. That's what makes surviving worth it. Because in the end, when you've faced it all and made it through, you won't just be another face in the crowd. You'll be the one who refused to fall, the one who refused to give up. And that's your real victory. Self-doubt. It's the shadow that follows you around, isn't it? It creeps in when you least expect it, right when you think you're standing tall. It whispers in your ear, you're not enough. It finds the tiniest crack in your confidence, then it just explodes. And you listen to it, don't you? You listen even when you know you shouldn't. It tells you that you're not good enough, that no matter how hard you try, it's never going to be enough. And what do? You shrink. You start questioning everything. Am I good enough? Am I worthy? What if I fail? It's almost funny, isn't it? You've been through so much already, but this voice, this whisper in your head, still has the power to break you. Self-doubt doesn't care about your achievements, your struggles, or your victories. It doesn't care about the hours you've put in, the sacrifices you've made. It's a parasite, a constant companion that feeds on your weaknesses, and you let it. You let it get to you. You let it sit there, festering inside, telling you what you can and can't do. It's like it knows the perfect time to strike when you're at your lowest, when you're too tired to fight back, when you're sitting there thinking about everything you've done wrong, everything you could have done better. Self-doubt wants you to give up before you even get started. The thing is, no one really talks about it, do they? Oh sure, people talk about overcoming challenges, about pushing through the pain, but no one talks about that internal battle, the one that rages on inside your head, that fight against yourself, against the version of you that says you're not enough. They tell you to push forward, to keep going, but they don't tell you how loud the voice of self-doubt gets, how it drowns everything else out. They don't warn you that sometimes the hardest thing to do isn't to fight the world, it's fighting your own mind. And when you finally hear the voice of doubt, it's not some distant whisper anymore, is it? No, it's right in your face, screaming, demanding that you pay attention. Who do you think you are? You're not strong enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have what it takes. And every time you hear that voice, it chips away at you. It takes pieces of your confidence, your courage, until all that's left is a shell of the person you used to be. But it doesn't stop there. No, it feeds on your fear, on your insecurity. It grows stronger every time you let it win, every time you doubt yourself just a little bit more. But here's the truth, the thing no one really wants to admit. Self-doubt is a liar. It's a trickster. It's not real. It has no power unless you give it power. Every time you believe the lie, every time you let that voice control you, you lose. You lose your sense of self, your will to keep going, and you lose the fight. You see, self-doubt wants you to think you're alone in it. It wants you to think you're the only one who's ever felt this way. It makes you think that your fear, your hesitation, your anxiety are all signs that you're not meant for the things you're reaching for. But here's the kicker. Everyone has these feelings. Everyone feels the fear, the doubt. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is how they handle it. You have two choices. You can let self-doubt crush you, or you can use it as fuel. Yeah, you heard me right, fuel. Every time that voice gets louder, every time it tells you that you can't do something, take a deep breath and turn that energy around. Don't let it control you. Don't let it define who you are. You're not the person who listens to that voice. You're the person who fights through it, who keeps going even when the world says you can't. You don't get to shrink down and hide in the corner. No, you stand tall and you look that doubt in the face and say, try me. I'm not saying it's easy. Hell, it's a battle every day. It's that nagging voice at 2 a.m. when you're wide awake and wondering if you've done enough, if you're on the right path, if you'll ever make it. It's the constant reminder that there's always someone better, smarter, faster, stronger than you. But the truth is, those people, they've got their own demons, their own voices telling them the same thing. The difference between you and them is simple. They didn't let it win. So why should you? Self-doubt is a game, a cruel little game where you're the pawn and it's the puppet master. But here's the thing. You get to decide whether you play by its rules. You get to decide whether you listen to it or you break free. Every time you get back up, every time you face that doubt and keep moving forward, you're winning. You're winning because you're not letting it control you. You're showing the world that you're stronger than it thinks, that you've got what it takes. Self-doubt doesn't define you. You define you. Every single time you push through it, you redefine what's possible. The thing about control, right? It's an illusion. A tight little game we play to keep ourselves from spiraling. We spend our lives gripping at the reins, trying to steer everything in the direction we think it should go. We pretend that we're in charge of it all, that we have all the answers, that if we just keep trying hard enough, we'll solve the puzzle. But here's the kicker. Control, it's not real. Oh, sure, we think we have it. We plan, we strategize, we work ourselves into the ground to make things turn out the way we want them to. We do everything in our power to make things fit, and when they don't, we go crazy, trying to force it, to make it happen. It's almost laughable, isn't it? How we make ourselves sick, trying to control the uncontrollable. See, what no one tells you about control is that it's exhausting. You can try all you want to keep things in line, to maintain some semblance of order, but the truth is, life isn't interested in playing by your rules. No matter how much you beg, scream, or bargain with it, life's going to happen the way it's going to happen, and you can either roll with it or break under the weight of trying to force it into submission. But we love our little illusions of control, don't we? They give us comfort, a false sense of security that tells us, hey, we've got this. We know what's coming. And for a while it feels good. You get that false confidence, the feeling that you've cracked the code. But then life shows up with a big, fat surprise and reminds you that you're not in control. You never were. That's when the chaos hits. The thing you didn't see coming. It blindsides you, knocks you off your feet, and all of a sudden you're scrambling to hold on to something, anything. You want to scream at the universe, demand that things go your way for once. You feel like you've earned it, like you've worked hard enough for life to just let you have a moment of peace. But no, the universe doesn't care about your plan. It never did. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That's what's so terrifying about it all. Life doesn't care what you want, when you want it, or how hard you've worked for it. It's a force far bigger than your tiny little mind can grasp. And the harder you try to control it, the more it slips through your fingers. The real kicker here is that we spend so much time fighting to hold on to something that was never ours to keep. We struggle with the truth, and the truth is this: control is a fantasy. The more you try to hold on to things, the more it'll slip away. The tighter you grip, the more you suffocate everything around you. You can't force people to do what you want. You can't make things happen the way you think they should. So what's the answer, huh? If control isn't the answer, then what is? It's simple, really. Surrender. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about letting go. The thing you've spent your whole life avoiding. The thing that terrifies you more than anything else. But listen, the trick isn't about giving up. No, it's about giving in. Giving in to the flow of life, to the uncontrollable madness of it all. You don't need to know every step, every move, every outcome. You don't need to make every decision like it's the last one you'll ever make. The real freedom? It's found in release. It's in knowing that you're not the one running the show. It's accepting that the world doesn't revolve around your plans, and it's okay. You don't need to control everything. When you stop fighting against the flow, something shifts. It's like you stop trying to plug every hole in the dam, and instead, you let the water run freely. You let go of all those things you've been trying to control, trying to fit into your perfect little box. You let go of the need to make everything look neat and tidy. And what happens when you do that? Life doesn't crumble, it doesn't fall apart, it doesn't end in a fiery explosion. Instead, it finds its own rhythm, its own pace. The pieces fall into place, sometimes when you least expect it. And you realize that the less you try to control, the more things seem to work out. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped trying so damn hard to make it happen. It's funny how things work, isn't it? How the more you try to hold on to something, the more it slips away, but the moment you loosen your grip, it all falls into place. You stop carrying the weight of everything, and suddenly, life feels lighter. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to have a plan for every single thing that happens in your life. The pressure, it doesn't need to be on you. The answer isn't in controlling the chaos, it's in dancing with it. Letting the waves crash and carry you to new places, places you never imagined you'd go. You're not the one steering the ship, you're just along for the ride, so why not enjoy it? Ah, stress. What a wonderful little companion we've all come to know, haven't we? It's that constant nagging, that weight on your shoulders that you just can't shake. The one that creeps in when you least expect it, like a bad guest who just doesn't know when to leave. It's always there, lurking in the background, whispering in your ear, telling you that you're not doing enough, that you're not enough. It's like a slow poison that seeps into your thoughts, making you doubt yourself, your abilities, your worth. We let it in, we entertain it, we let it run wild until it consumes us. And the thing is, stress isn't even the real problem. It's not the cause of it all. It's just the symptom, a reflection of something deeper that we don't want to face. And when you're living under the weight of all that pressure, it can feel like you're drowning. But here's the thing, stress, it's a funny little creature. It comes in all sorts of disguises. It shows up as worry, as fear, as that nagging voice telling you that you're just one step away from disaster. And you know what we do? We believe it. We get caught up in the panic. We let the fear take over. We start making choices out of anxiety instead of clarity. We start reacting instead of responding. We lash out instead of thinking. We spiral instead of standing still. We make the stress our enemy and we let it control us. But why? Why do we let it run the show? It's like we're all playing a game and stress is the dealer holding the cards that we're so desperately trying to win. We think we're going to lose if we don't play by its rules. So we buckle up, we panic, we scramble to keep up with it, to meet its demands, to put out its fires. And the more we try to control it, the worse it gets. You see, stress is a monster, a shapeshifter. When you're pushing it away, trying to fight it, it only grows stronger. But what if I told you there's a way out of the madness? What if I told you that the secret to calming the storm is not in fighting it at all, but in surrendering to it? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Surrendering? But it's true. You see, stress thrives on resistance. It feeds off of your refusal to accept the reality of the moment. The more you push back, the more you try to control things that are outside of your control, the more it takes over. But when you finally let go of the struggle, when you finally stop resisting, it has no power over you. And that's when the magic happens. That's when the world stops spinning out of control and you realize that you're not fighting the storm, you're dancing in the rain. Look, I get it. It's hard to stop. We've been trained to hustle, to work ourselves to the bone, to push through, to never give up. We've been told that if we're not stressed, if we're not burning the candle at both ends, then we're not doing enough. We've internalized the idea that stress is a badge of honor, that it's a sign of success, that the more stressed we are, the more important we must be. But that's a lie. Stress isn't a sign of success. It's a sign of imbalance. It's a signal that something is out of alignment. When you're living in a constant state of stress, you're not thriving, you're surviving. And there's a big difference. Thriving means living with purpose, living in alignment, living without the constant fear that you're about to lose control. Surviving, on the other hand, is like treading water, barely keeping your head above the surface. And eventually that's going to wear you down. The funny thing is, we spend so much time trying to fix stress, trying to escape it, trying to numb it with distractions or temporary fixes. But stress doesn't go away until you stop treating it like the enemy. You've got to face it head on, not as something to fight, but as something to learn from. It's trying to tell you something, trying to guide you to a better way, but you've got to be willing to listen. And the first step is understanding that you don't have to carry the weight of it all. You don't have to solve every problem, fix every issue, make everything perfect. You don't have to control every outcome. And that's where the freedom lies. It's in the release. It's in the acceptance that you can't do it all, and that's okay. Stress doesn't control you unless you let it. When you let go of that need to control every little detail, when you release the pressure to be perfect, stress loses its grip on you. You start to see things more clearly, and you realize that most of the things you're stressing over aren't nearly as big as they seem. They're just distractions, just noise, and once you stop letting them consume you, you find peace. Real peace, the kind of peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances, the kind that comes from within. It's a radical shift, isn't it? But it's the only way out of the madness. When you stop trying to control everything, you stop letting stress your reality. You stop letting it dictate your mood, your choices, your day. Instead, you start to move with the flow of life, not against it. Stress doesn't have to be your constant companion. It doesn't have to run your life. You have the power to change the narrative, to step out of the cycle of anxiety and to finally breathe. So the next time you feel that weight bearing down on you, instead of running from it, instead of fighting it, try this. Breathe. Breathe and let it be. Instead of fighting it, try this. Breathe and let it be, and let it be, and let it be. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to change it. Just let it be. And you'll find that the more you let go, the more you actually gain. Oh, let me guess, you've been feeling it, haven't you? The heavy weight, the pressure, the constant gnawing in the back of your mind. It's like a ticking clock, always ticking, louder and louder. And you're just waiting for it to explode. The stress, the fear, the anxiety, they all pile up like some horrible game of Jenga, and you're just one wrong move away from everything crumbling down. You try to keep it together, you try to hold on, you try to convince yourself that everything's fine, but deep down inside, you know you're not fooling anyone, especially not yourself. You're stressed. You're overwhelmed. You're sinking. And here's the kicker. We've all been there. Oh, don't you worry. You're not alone in this circus of chaos. We've all been the clowns in our own little nightmare, trying to juggle everything, all the expectations, the responsibilities, the never-ending to-do lists. But here's the thing. No matter how much you spin those plates, they're eventually going to crash to the ground. And that's okay, you know? That's the thing no one tells you. It's okay to crash. It's okay to fall apart. Because here's the real secret. No one ever tells you how liberating it can be to just let go. You see, when we're caught in that whirlwind of stress, we think it's all about holding on tighter, doing more, pushing ourselves further, but that's not it at all. You want to know the real answer? The key? It's to stop fighting it. It's to stop holding on to that string that's been pulling you in 100 different directions. Yeah, that's right. Stop fighting it. Let the chaos happen. Embrace the mess, because it's in the mess that you'll find the truth. Oh, sure, we all like to pretend we have everything together, don't we? We paint on our best smile, put on our shiny face, and pretend that everything is perfect, but deep down the cracks are showing. You feel them, you try to ignore them, you push them back down, but those cracks, they're a sign of something far greater than the chaos you're fighting to control. They're telling you something. They're calling you out. So why do we resist it? Why do we think we have to do everything ourselves? Why do we feel the need to hold everything together, to make it look like we have it all figured out? We don't. And we never will. That's the dirty little secret. No one has it all figured out. No one has the perfect life. No one's walking around with everything in place. We're all just stumbling through this messy, chaotic existence, doing our best not to lose our minds in the process. But here's the twist. Maybe it's okay to lose control. Maybe it's okay to let go of that need for perfection, that need for everything to be smooth and easy and planned out. Maybe it's okay to sit in the mess and just be for once. You know what I mean? Stop pretending to have all the answers. Stop pretending that you can solve it all. Because in reality, you're not supposed to solve it all. You're not supposed to have it all together. No one does. And here's the real kicker. When you stop fighting, when you stop trying to control every little detail, that's when the magic happens. Yeah, the magic. It's like a wild card in a poker game that you never saw coming. You've been so wrapped up in trying to keep everything perfect, trying to make everything fit into place, that you've completely ignored the fact that things don't have to be perfect to be beautiful. They don't have to be planned to be meaningful. The chaos, the cracks, the mess, that's where you find the truth. That's where the lessons are hiding. But you'll never see them if you're too busy trying to control. You've got to let go. You've got to sit back, breathe, and realize that not everything is within your control. And that's okay. That's actually more than okay. It's freeing. Because once you accept that, once you give yourself permission to just let things be, that's when you stop being consumed by the chaos. That's when you stop running from the storm and actually start dancing in the rain. But we don't want to dance, do we? We'd rather run, hide, try to fix everything, control every moment, because we're afraid of what might happen if we don't. We're afraid that if we let go, everything will fall apart. But you know what I'm starting to think? Maybe everything has to fall apart so it can finally come together. Maybe we've been so obsessed with holding things together that we've missed the bigger picture. The one that says, it's okay to fall. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to fail. You know, failure is like a gift wrapped up in a messy little package. And it's only when we stop resisting it that we can finally open it and see what's inside. Inside failure is the raw material for growth. It's in those cracks, those breakdowns, that we find the resilience to rise, to rebuild, to become something greater. But you'll never discover that if you're too busy trying to keep everything perfectly intact. So yeah, maybe you're stressed, maybe you feel like you're on the edge, maybe you feel like you're one step away from losing it all. But guess what? That's exactly where the transformation happens. That's when the walls break down and you see the light. It's not in holding onto the stress that you find peace. It's in letting it go that you find freedom. So stop fighting it. Let the mess happen, because it's only through the mess that you'll truly find your way. Here we go again. Life, the great circus that it is, twisting us into pretzels, flipping us upside down, making us laugh and cry, sometimes at the same time. But you know what they never tell you? The show must go on. That's the mantra, isn't it? Everyone's so busy putting on their little act, pretending they've got it all together, dancing through life like they've got the answers, the secret, the key to some big cosmic lock. But what if it's all a joke? A big, beautiful joke, waiting for you to figure it out. You see, we're all caught up in these patterns, these loops, these routines. We wake up, we rush through the day, We push ourselves until we're about to snap, and we crash into bed only to do it all over again the next day. We work ourselves to the bone for what? To make sure we have the right clothes, the right car? What are we really chasing here? What's the big deal? But maybe, just maybe, we're doing it all wrong. You see, the truth is, we're all looking for something. We're all searching for that thing, that one thing that'll make everything okay. A promotion, a relationship, a perfect life, whatever that means. We think if we just get that one thing, everything will finally fall into place. All our problems will vanish. All the noise will go quiet, and we can finally just sit back and enjoy the ride. But let me tell you something. Life doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You can chase after all the things you want, work your fingers to the bone, grind yourself into the ground, but when you get to the top of that mountain, you'll be looking around wondering, yeah, you heard me. Right when you think you've reached the peak, when you think you've got everything in place, that's when everything falls apart. You've been working so hard to get to the top, but it's the fall that's going to teach you everything you need to know. You've been taught that failure is the enemy. You've been told that if you don't succeed, you're nothing. But here's the thing. Failure is where you find your strength. You can't break what's already